Brand new numbers on how fast prices are going up. The rate of inflation tells us that. And today, we see consumer prices went up year over year, prices by 2.9%. Now, while that remains much higher than when Biden and Kamala Harris took office, this new number is the lowest we have seen in 3 years since March of 2021. But the prices are still going up, just not as fast. That's what that means. And Americans are hurting. They tell us every day. Just a couple of headlines now. Financial pressures on American consumers continue to rise. And paying the bills is harder than ever. Are voters supposed to feel joy? Certainly very little joy when everyday expenses like food, gas, housing, energy, even auto insurance and pet food have skyrocketed by double digits since Biden and Harris both took office. Vice President Kamala Harris has begun to shift her stump speeches to reflect the economy more. And what she says, despite promising to tackle high prices for years, we still have them.
The cost of groceries has gone up. The cost of gas has gone up. It's one of the highest priorities, actually, for the president and for me. Fighting inflation is one of our administration's top economic priorities.
For many Americans, prices are still too high, and we still have work to do to address that.
When I am president, it will be my day one priority to fight to bring down prices.
A recent Financial Times poll shows just 1/3 of people saying that they think they would be better off financially under Kamala Harris. NBC News talked to a panel of black voters in Philadelphia and got their take on the Biden-Harris economy. It wasn't good.
What do you care about most right now?
Economics, education, reentry.
What are they going to do for my people that lives in the communities where I am from? How can they go into a home and help that family to save their children? We need the funding. We want the help.
If a working class mom who works as a paralegal cannot buy a $2 bell pepper because it's now $5, imagine a mother living on food stamps. Imagine a mother who's making minimum wage trying to feed children. They're killing us without killing us. It's either feed my child or how about feed my children, and I don't.
God bless her. Steve Moore, economic advisor to former President Trump. Look, I want to make it very clear. The prices likely may not go back to what they were before this administration. I mean, I've had experts tell me that. I'd like to get your thoughts on it as well. So do we have to adjust to a new normal that woman was just laying out if we don't do something drastic moving forward?
Yeah, Harris, it's interesting because if you look at what happened under Trump, Black Americans had the biggest income gains of any president in history. Black Americans did very well. Also, the lowest unemployment rates and the lowest poverty rates ever for Black Americans. And then you contrast that with what's happening today. And that focus group was very interesting. I mean, I hear the same thing when I talk to Hispanic parents, when I talk to Black parents, and everybody's really been crushed by this inflation. And you raised a very good point earlier, Harris. You hit the nail right on the head. That yes, the rate of inflation is coming down, but everything's still getting more expensive. And so if you look at just the price of going to McDonald's, if you look at the price of buying meat and eggs at the grocery store, if you look at people's rent and mortgages, those are up in some cases by 25 and 30%. A new report just came out yesterday by the Federal Reserve Bank showing that Americans are having to go further into debt, Harris, because they cannot pay their bills. This is not a good economy. Yeah. It's an economy that's really stressing out middle class and lower income people. One of the things I brought up with former President Trump recently in an interview was the fact that counseling credit organizations are seeing a hike, a tremendous hike, in people trying to figure out, well, can somebody help me figure out how to make my money pay more bills? What do I need to give up? That sort of thing. They need counseling because they're carrying so much debt. They're buying food, groceries with credit cards. So we know people are hurting, and now the people who help them are just overwhelmed with the level of need that's out there. I want to get to this. President Biden, with a rare public outing yesterday, answered this question about the new Democratic presidential nominee, Kamala Harris. Let's watch.
How much more progressive is Vice President Harris than you as a candidate in the general?
The issues we've worked on together have made great progress economically. No one calls what we did on infrastructure progressive. It's a good policy. So that's what it does.
Here's a peek at some of those wildly expensive policies that Biden claims no one calls progressive. The Inflation Reduction Act, which didn't actually do that. Multiple student loan bailouts against the U.S. Supreme Court. He still wanted to move, didn't care about that. The American Rescue Plan, the infrastructure bill, a $1.4 trillion debt increase across fiscal years 2022 and 2023, and slowing leases on federal land for oil and gas drilling. Look, and I also want to point out that shortly after he got into office, Joe Biden declared that the pandemic was over. So continuing to spend money, I don't know what the plan was there, but it hurt us. Steve.
Well, by the way, more people died of COVID under Biden than under Trump, which is amazing because the most virulent strain of COVID happened under Trump.
That's true.
So when Kamala Harris attacks Trump for his handling of COVID, and look, mistakes were certainly made under Trump, but it was much, much worse under Biden. All of those numbers that you've been showing indicate that you had a prosperity under Trump. People's incomes were going up. The average family gained about $5,000 to $6,000 in income, which was a record for the United States. And under Joe Biden, even with the rate of inflation coming down, the average family today, Harris, is about $2,000 poorer than they were when Trump left office. In other words, people haven't gained ground, they've lost ground. Now, Kamala Harris was in charge of two things as vice president. We all know that she was the czar for the border. That didn't work out so well. We had the worst border ever. And she also was one who was in charge of helping bring down inflation. That didn't work very well either. And I'll repeat one other thing, because I think most of your viewers know this, but she cast the tie-breaking vote in the United States Senate for those two multi-trillion-dollar spending bills.
Yeah, I mean, Biden has often said that she's the last person in the room on all of the decisions that are important to Americans. She was there. It's her administration, too. And just yesterday, the campaign, or day before yesterday, her campaign put out that there's no daylight between Biden and Kamala Harris and their policies. So I think it's clear. And what hasn't worked, I would surmise, would be the continuation of what we'd see now unless something drastic changes. Steve Moore, thank you.
This is... Yeah, one just last point. I want people to really understand that last point that you just made. Kamala Harris is running on the Biden agenda. She is joined at the hip with Biden. So I guess what Donald Trump should say is, if you like the last 4 years, you're going to get 4 more years of this under Kamala Harris. I happen to think it's been a disaster, and I think most Americans do too.
Steve Moore, great to have you in focus. Thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.